everybody. Welcome in to LTL Media. This is Let's Talk Live. And wow, it's good to be back. It's good to be back. I've had a pretty rough couple of days. I've been keeping everybody kind of updated on X and Facebook. So if you haven't heard, I'll give you a little bit of a rundown. So starting on Sunday night, well, starting a week prior to all of this, I started having some symptoms in my teeth. I felt like my gums were like inflamed and it was really bothering me, and the pain was kind of progressively building up. So I ended up going to my regular general dentist, had a conversation with him. He looked in there, he said, "Yeah, your gums look inflamed. Let's clean it out." So he did a nice good cleaning in there, kind of said, "Keep an eye on it. We'll see how it responds," and sent me on my way. Well, let's see. Sunday evening, I had the show with Mark and Mike, and I was pretty good, after the show. When I went home and everything started to ache really, really bad. And that was my first restless night of sleep. So I didn't really sleep well on Sunday. So come Monday, my mouth is in full flare, toothache, shooting pain up in my brain, like killing me. So I ended up going back to my general dentist. Well, come to find out, I needed a root canal. And I went almost 2.5 full days without any sleep. And I finally got in and had my root canal on Wednesday, because we are now what? It's now Thursday. So I had my root canal yesterday. Well, I woke up this morning and my top tooth was throbbing just as bad as my bottom tooth that was adjacent from that tooth underneath. Called my general dentist again, had some concerns, went in there, took an x-ray. Guess what? Need a root canal on the top tooth too. So tomorrow morning, I'll be going into getting my top tooth root canal, and we should be all done with this. So 2025 has not been a great start. I've exhausted literally all my insurance that they'll pay at this point, because not only do you have to get the root canal, but now I have to get a crown over that other tooth. I've kind of lucked out on the bottom because I have a full bridge there. So they just drilled down into it. They're going to put a post, seal it off. I'm fine. But the top tooth now, got to pay for a crown. So I have very expensive dental work that'll be coming out of my pocket here in the next couple of days. It has not been a fun time in 2025. I'm like, why couldn't this happen? Like some of this happened in 2024, and I could have had some of the surgery then. I would have used my insurance and then bounced it over to the new year. Never works that way. Never works that way. But I've been on antibiotic for the last 3 days. It's kicked in. My pain essentially has been dormant, just popping Tylenols to keep the residual pain down. But tomorrow morning, we'll get it all taken care of, and we'll be in a better place. We'll be in a much better place tomorrow. But anyway, let's move on with the show. It's very nice to see everybody here this evening. I see some Go Squad members. I see some moderators here. I want to go on and just thank Mike from the Young Jerks for asking me to come up and guest on his panel. It was such a great time being up there with Mark and Mark. I thought the segment was great that I got to join in with, and they always do an overall great show. And just really building that relationship between Mike and the Young Jerks. Obviously, my friendship with Mark MazzaMedia, and I've been on with Bettero. Bettero's been on my channel, I think, twice. So to be up on a power panel like that was a real honor. And I'm looking forward to, kind of Mark and Mike and I have kind of agreed we're going to try to do a rotating panel on each other's channels, this year leading up to the trial as often as we can. And I think I'm really looking forward to that because I'll tell you, the live we had the other day on my show on Sunday was awesome. Probably one of my best three-way panels that I've had. And it was just really enjoyable to see those guys over here. So anyway, tonight we are going to get into Karen Reed's previous hearing. We're going to talk about Hank Mobster Brennan, coming into the courtroom, and he's going to be tough and try to push Dr. Russell around. And it just did not happen. I mean, she didn't fold. She was phenomenal on the stand the other day, went through a huge, long day of testimony and was just with it, the whole time. And then to see Karen Reed's new attorney, Robert Alessi, in action. I think he pairs up with Brennan well. I think it gives it right back to him. He's calm, cool, collective, just like AJ, just like Unetti, just like Liza. I mean, just gets in there, and I think is a perfect addition to the Karen Reed team. And I am looking forward to, if this gets to trial, which it's looking like it's going to get to trial, to see what Alessi is going to do in this trial. And he's doing it for free, pro bono. I mean, just to have the case here and help Karen get through this is just phenomenal to take this on. So I really thoroughly enjoyed watching him work. I really thoroughly watched. I love the closing argument by Alessi. I think it was great. Made some very great valid points as to, Dr. Russell being a true and through, with her experience, dog by expert. His trial is going to get very interesting. 2.0 is going to be extremely interesting. And I'm just curious to see what direction Karen's team will take this time around. And, what are they going to attack in the Commonwealth's evidence? I'm really, really curious to see what direction that will go in. But again, so tonight we're going to go through a little bit of Hank Brennan on the stand battling with Dr. Russell. And then I want to take it to the closing arguments by either party. And then I'd love to talk about, and this was phenomenal, the other night, I think just after the hearing, Nick Rocco went on to Court TV with Vinnie Politan and dropped the Plevin line. I loved it. Called Plevin right to his face. And it was phenomenal on national TV. Obviously, we get the joke. We get the joke here, but I loved it. And we'll go through that segment as well, too. So if you're just jumping in, please make sure to smash the like button. I would appreciate it. And let's just bring up the hearing here. Let's go for it. All right. We're going to hear a little bit of Brennan, and then we'll go into the closing arguments.
Mr. Brennan, whenever you're ready.
Thank you. All right. Can we have Exhibit 5, please? Thank you.
And I will.
Dr. Russell, we were talking about these two scratches or abrasions as wound 1. I want to continue asking some questions about wound 1. And I had asked you, now that your position is that these were caused by the canines of the dog, was it the upper or lower canines?
I can't tell 100%.
Well, not 100%. What's your opinion? Are these upper or lower canines?
I believe they're upper canines.
Okay. Why do you believe these are upper canines as opposed to lower canines?
Because when the mouth of the dog opens and attacks, it's usually the upper canines that grasp first.
And you're saying because there's an absence on the other side that this must be the upper canines? Is that your logic?
I'm saying because it's usually the uppers that grasp first.
There's nothing in methodology or comparative study that would tell you that these are consistent with upper canines. You're just deducing that based on there's only one pattern instead of two?
There's nothing that makes it definitive, correct?
Well, not just definitive. There's no cues. There's no clues. There's nothing here that says to a person or even an expert that these are caused by canine teeth.
And I'll just fire back at Brennan. There's nothing definitive saying here that this was caused by a tail light. There's nothing. I mean, just turn it right back at him. How do you come up with that ridiculous theory that we saw in trial 1 with Trooper Paul doing the pirouette? It's almost impossible. And I just was talking about this on Mike's show just a couple of minutes ago. I said, I was on the highway the other day and I'm driving and I'm literally looking over and I see a Lexus 570, the same model that Karen Reed has. And I look at the back tail light and I'm like, there's just no way possible. There's no way scientifically possible that could even shatter like it did into these 1 million pieces and cause those wounds on John's arm. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. I know we've talked about this over and over and over again. It's so exhausting that it just wouldn't happen. And then you just have to sit here and say, well, ARCA proved it. So, and to, like we were talking early on Mike's show, I had the photo of me up. I posted it this past summer when I was actually standing next to a Lexus 570. And it was funny because I never even noticed this before. But Mike said, yeah, but if you even look at the bumper, the back bumper of that Lexus 570, it juts out like 2 inches. So you essentially would make contact, down in your lower area, maybe your knee to your foot would make contact with that before your arm would even make contact. So wouldn't that kind of push you out of the way first? Even if you were to make, before you would even make contact with that tail light? It's virtually impossible. All right, let's keep playing through here a little bit.
Well, the other consideration is if the victim was trying to defend himself, it's the upper canines that would impact first on that surface of the arm.
What if the victim was defending himself from a 6,000-pound car? That'd be a different type of wound than this?
This is not caused by a car.
So what evidence do you have that the victim was defending himself, which caused this shape of wounds?
Again, it's very common for someone who's under attack to take their arm and flex it in front of them to protect their vital organs.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that I'd like to see ARCA do this time around. I've been kind of big on that. I'd like to see them do this type of testing and show this type of testing, a video representation of maybe they put together of their scientific experiment in this and show that to the jury. And then we turn around and we maybe do something with the Trooper Paul theory to show how literally pathetic that explanation was and how he came to that determination of the pirouette and how John got those scratches on his arm. But I think that's a very relevant question. And that was something that I was looking forward to in trial 1. And I definitely hope that this time around they do have some type of recreation, some type of video recreation, because I've said this before, we're very, very, very visual creatures in the way that we all work now in this world. We've been kind of conditioned to video and photos and all these apps that we use, Facebook and YouTube and TikTok and Twitter, all these things. And again, I think it will be very helpful to the jury to show some visual representation or recreation. All right, let's keep
neck,
playing.
head, face.
So if Mr. O'Keefe is flexing his arm to defend himself, that doesn't answer the question, what identifying feature with specificity in these support any conclusion that it was a canine tooth that caused either of them?
Well, first, in general, it's the canine teeth that are going to impact because they are much longer than the incisor teeth.
Right. The question I have is, look at these 2 scratches here. What objective evidence do you have based on methodology, comparative analysis? What evidence do you have that either of these were caused by?
Yeah, they had Clement's recreation. They sure
Again,
did.
the methodology is that I looked at the overall pattern of the wounds on the arm, not just those 2 wounds up
Thank
by
you,
the shoulder, but the overall pattern.
So your testimony is, if I look at everything together, I can have an opinion. If I look at this separately, it means nothing.
If I look at it separately, I cannot be as definitive. Correct.
Well, not as definitive. I'm asking you for an opinion. You don't have any evidence that this has any relation to a dog bite. Without looking at the whole arm and giving that general opinion we'll get to, you have nothing as far as facts or comparative analysis or studies that would say that this was caused by canines on a dog, do you?
It's consistent with 2 canine teeth. There's a distance between those parallel marks.
Did you measure the distance between where this begins or ends, because you don't know, and this begins or ends?
I would have loved to, but
if I could just finish, I'm sorry. Did you measure the distance between this?
You get the swarmy, snarky, Hank Brennan. He's going to come in and bully Dr. Russell in the courtroom. That's what he's going to do. And, the tone and the line of questioning here is just ridiculous. You have this judge, that we talked about, I talked about on Young Jerks, this judge that's very biased. I think that she wants to put Karen Reed away. I think she's very pro Commonwealth. I mean, we see that through the treatment of how she treats Alan Jackson. We had that comment a couple of hearings ago about the red eye flight, and throughout the trial as well, too. The first trial, the way that she treated Karen and the defense team, and then supposedly was off the case and then back off the trial and then back on the trial. Just seems a little weird. And then, I see the ultimate evidence of all this biasness of the tone in her voice during the first trial when she had to announce that this was a mistrial. It was almost like someone pissed in her boots. It was like she was angry that Karen Reed wasn't thrown in jail and held responsible for everything that happened at 34 Fairview. That was plain.
And this and this.
I could not measure it because there's no ruler in that picture.
You know that when a dog bites, the canines don't move. Unlike paws that might open or close, the teeth stay the same distance apart, don't they?
Correct.
There's nothing that you know of in any dog science that canines, when they bite, they open or close or get wider or more narrow. They're always the same distance, right?
I think Mark made a good point just on Young Jerks when I was over there. He said, you just Google, dog bite photos. You're going to see very similar photos to John O'Keefe's arm. I may have done that before multiple times on the show. And then you look at it and you say, you Google photos of taillight injuries to an arm. You're probably not going to find anything like that out there because it just doesn't happen. It does not happen.
With it for that dog, yes.
Right. That dog.
Assuming that they're healthy teeth, yes.
Dog science.
And you don't know if they're healthy teeth or not because you never looked at Chloe.
Correct.
And you haven't either. So let's get that theory out. I love this thing. He announces, oh, well, we've found Chloe and we've done dog bite impressions. Okay, well, if you found Chloe and you've located the dog and you know where it is, then why didn't you do that in the first trial? Why didn't we? I mean, you knew that Karen Reed's team was going to talk about the dog bite evidence, the dog bites to John O'Keefe's arm. Then why didn't ADA Lally bring that up in the first trial? Why did we not have a dog bite impression? Why did we not take those impressions and compare those to photos? If you say you had this and you've known about it, then why not bring that up? Because you know why? It's bullshit. And how will we even know if this said bite impression, if they produce it, is even from Chloe? I mean, the only way really, I think, definitively to do that, and we talked this on Mike's show, is if the dog was microchipped. We don't know if it was. You'd probably have to go through the veterinary, records to see if it had any surgeries or identical defying marks on the dog's body. I'm pretty sure they didn't really care much about Chloe because they just kind of gave her away after she bit John O'Keefe and has a track record of biting people. There's 2 other victims as well that got bit by Chloe. So, why would they bring this up now? I think it's bullshit. I think Brennan was just throwing that out there to try to rattle Dr. Russell, and you probably won't hear much about it anymore because this tactic didn't work.
And you're not saying there's any punctures anywhere in here, are you?
I don't see a definitive puncture.
Well, do you see a puncture that's not definitive?
At the very lower aspect of the photo, this area is not well defined.
So you're saying this is possibly a puncture?
I can't rule it out by that photograph.
Well, couldn't you rule it out through other analysis and evidence? Couldn't you rule it out, as we just spoke about? Because if this was the puncture, that means the bite is going this way. And if it's going this way, the arc is in the total opposite direction. Couldn't you rule it out just on that?
I couldn't rule it out, but it certainly makes sense that it would not, that the punctures would not be down below.
Well, does not make sense. It makes no sense that it would go this way. It wouldn't be going up if the dog has an arc going this way. The arc would have to be this way.
It depends on the position of the victim.
A dog arc is not going to change depending on the position of a victim.
No.
And the dog's canines are not going to move depending on the position of the victim.
That's right. But if
Right.
he's bending over and depending on the position of the arm, the wound can change. The wound can have a different appearance than what you would expect.
Okay. Let's move on to number 2, which I'm identifying.
And here's an interesting, way to look at it too. And I'm sure dog owners in here know this, but let's just say what now? It's been almost 3 years since this incident happened, and you're going to take a dog bite impression. Well, dogs' teeth change over time. They chew on bones, they chew on sticks. They might have a a surgery or dental, teeth removed at the vet. And how will we even know? If they had the impression from Chloe and they bring this up, I mean, it's obviously going to change. It's going to change.
Is these 2 linear scratches and then the scratch on the bottom. You've testified about this wound number 2, although you didn't characterize it as wound number 2.
Yeah, just like
Right.
humans.
Yes.
Absolutely.
When you first testified under oath in the voir dire about wound number 2, do you remember what you said that you thought that might be?
I believe I said bites or scratches.
Teeth or claws, right?
100%,
Okay.
Susan. I agree.
Now at trial, did you change your opinion at all about teeth or scratches?
I'm not sure.
Good point.
Do you think you said at trial that this was not scratches, but most likely teeth?
I may have said that.
Okay. And then you testified at this hearing, didn't you?
Yes.
And now definitively, you're saying this wasn't scratches at all, it was teeth.
Definitively, I cannot say that. They
Okay.
still could be scratches. There's a possibility that 2 adjacent nail marks made that.
So you're saying this could be nails or could be scratches? I mean, this could be nail
Bite
scratches
or-
or could be teeth?
Yes, there's a possibility that those could be scratches.
When you were asked on direct examination, that wasn't your testimony, was it? I turned you to page
It
101,
doesn't.
line 13.
That's why. It just doesn't.
On what day?
I'm sorry, the last hearing date is the thickest of the 3. Yes, it's page 101, line 13. May I approach and help you on that?
Yes. One.
It's the thick one.
Mhm.
You got it.
Mhm. Okay.
Okay. No, that's the wrong site, so we're gonna, you got that one. At that hearing, when you last testified, did you say that teeth made those marks? You are unable to say which teeth, but it was teeth?
Yes, I believe I did.
Okay, so your position from the voir dire and from the trial testimony changed regarding this wound when you last testified at the Lanigan hearing.
Take a moment and smash that like button if you haven't done that already. We got about 300 people in here bouncing in and out. I would appreciate it. If you're new here, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. I would appreciate it. All right, let's keep playing a little bit more, and then I want to get to the closing arguments, and then we're going to go to that court TV segment to end the show tonight.
I still think
Oh.
that they are probably teeth, but I cannot 100% rule out scratch marks.
Did you say something like, I'm not sure exactly what teeth made these? One of them could, one set of these could be canine, one part of this and an adjacent incisor tooth, but I'm not sure on the second set.
Again, it goes to the fact that the wounds are not very specific for differentiating between between teeth and claw marks. However, it's in the setting of a pattern, one can get a whole lot more information, and that is supported by the articles.
So getting back to wound number 2, when you described this for Mr. Alisi, he suggested to you, so even though you may not be able to identify the specific aspect of the dog dentition, you're able to identify this is from some aspect of dog dentition. Is that what you're saying? And you said yes. So you were saying at the last hearing, this is from dog dentition.
Mhm.
Dog dentition is different than toenail marks.
Or paw, yeah, paw
Yeah.
marks, yeah.
So
Yeah.
your testimony
Yeah.
that you offered the jury in this case was different regards to wound 2 than the testimony you offered the court at the first part of this hearing.
The jury?
Yeah, the jury. When you testified at trial, you said it
Trial.
was claw marks or teeth.
Uh-huh.
You said at the last hearing this was dentition, teeth. So the opinion has now changed.
I think for the most, well, I'm sorry if maybe I made a mistake.
100%.
I don't think so. I think your opinion has changed. You said this was either claw marks or tooth marks. You weren't.
Decline, thank you so much. Says, thank you, Brian, for all that you do and being so humble. Great quality. Thank you. I appreciate that. I really do. And thank you so much for the $5 super chat. It helps keep the lights on here in the studio. Helps me pay for my dentist bill. Oh my God. I can't even believe how much money I've spent so far in 2025 to fix my teeth. It's insane. If anybody's gone through dental bills, I already know what I'm going to end up having to pay out of pocket. I had to pay $300 for my visit the other day. So my insurance, so I have $4,000 in my insurance. Okay. So I've done a root canal, which was like $1,800. So that's exhausted out of it. I'm going tomorrow for another root canal. It's another $1,800 out of my bank. Let's take a look. Let's add this up. So I pay $1,800, another $1,800. So I'm already $3,600 into my $4,000 allowance for the year already. Then I had to pay. And then after this, I got to go back to my general dentist, have the root canal that I did 2 days ago, a post put in and a permanent filling there in my bridge. And then I got to have a fucking crown put on the top tooth, which is probably going to end up costing me $2,000 out of my pocket. Fuck. I'm like probably going to be $3,000 out of pocket by the time I'm done with this. I did this a couple of years ago when I had my bridge. I ended up paying $6,000 out of my pocket. $6,000. Holy shnikes. 2025 has not been good. And I was just saying, why didn't this happen like a couple of days before the end of 2024? Because what would have happened is I could have used my bank that I didn't use all year to get at least half of this shit done. And then 2025 turns and I got half the other shit done. Unbelievable. But anyway, it'll be fixed hopefully tomorrow. We'll start moving through the process and I don't have to deal with it anymore. All right, let's hear a little bit more of this testimony. And then I want to jump to the immaculate closing arguments. I got to start a GoFundMe
trial
to work. I can't believe it. I'm going to pay like $3,000 out of pocket. Fuck.
At the Lanigan hearing, when you were asked by Mr. Alisi, he asked you specifically if this was dentition, and you said it was.
Crazy.
Okay, so
Thank you.
I'm gonna ask the question differently.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. Let's see.
You're saying now,
Let's see. PST says, was Chloe rehomed again? Why? Aggression. The defense should introduce her to the jury. Will she snap at one? Show the aggression. It's a great idea. We were joking around. What is Hank Brennan going to bring in like on Meet the Parents? Mazza was talking about on Young Jerks. It's going to be a situation like Meet the Parents where they lose Mr. Jinx. And then Ben Stiller's character goes out, finds this cat that's similar at a shelter, dyes the back of the cat to look like Mr. Jinx. Are we going to do that and bring Chloe into the courtroom? And it's going to be like, it's going to be like a lab that's painted all different colors, like dyed like a German Shepherd, and water spills over on the table and gets on Chloe and the hair dye runs. I mean, is that what we're going to do here? Because I don't think the dog exists. The dog's gone. I think they murdered the dog after they got rid of John. That's what they did. They murdered that dog. Yeah, that dog didn't go to Vermont. That dog was murdered. It's probably buried in the pool with cement. All right, let's keep playing. And thank you for the 10. I appreciate it. It helps the channel. Thank you.
Toenail marks. This is by teeth dentition?
I actually think it could be either.
Okay. Now, would you agree that is different
Nick
than what you
Rocco in
said
the
the
house.
first time
Nick!
you testified at this hearing?
Come on, Nick. I love it. I love the Plevin comment on on World TV. On World TV. I know we understand it here in Massachusetts a little bit more, but to get that out there to the world, man, that was so spot on. I don't know if you saw the meme on Boston Mike's Twitter where he played the clip and then the sunglasses come down, the joint in the mouth, and na da 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 da. I loved it. It's so good. It's so good, Nick. That was great. We're gonna play it tonight. I love it. It was really good. So we'll play a little bit more of Dr. Russell, and then we'll get to the closing arguments. I can't play it because of the song. They'll nail me for that clip because they'll copyright me. Let me just see. I can move my mouse down. I wish I could play it. I could play it without the sound, but it just doesn't have that full effect. Let me see if I can find it really quick. We'll play it. I'll just turn the sound down. But if you want, you know what I'll do? I'll play it and then I'll share it in the chat if you want to look at it. All right, let me I love this. I'm sure you've all seen these before, these memes. Let's go here. Right here, Nick Rocco. They're gonna nail me with this
conclusion that this was not consistent with an animal bite. But I'm sure what Plevin is gonna do.
Right there. It's this song.
The fucking
Nick Rocco, I love it. That's so good. I'll share it in the chat. I think Joe Flipperhead put it together, and he does a great job over there on the Twitters. I'll drop that link in the chat. Na 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 na. Snoop Dogg. All right, let's get back to the trial. Listen a little bit more here of Dr. Russell, then we'll move to the closing argument.
It sounds like
It was amazing,
So
wasn't it?
you've gone back and forth, kind of.
No, 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 no.
it's not a definite. It's not
Dogg.
in and of itself.
I'm not gonna
that
sing.
set
I'm
of
bad.
abrasions can it's not definitive.
Well, you didn't offer the jury the opinion that they weren't definitive or that you had confusion, did you?
I'm getting a little confused because at the jury, you told me that I said it was one or the other.
Right. And then you changed to it was dentition, and now you're back to claws or teeth?
I think it's still teeth, but yeah, I can't rule out the claws.
Okay. And because you have no comparative standard, you don't have a standard in the industry where you can look at this and say it has 6 points of contact or 6 features of similarity. You don't have anything like that. You're simply relying on your personal empirical experience.
Well, no, I also saw these 2 punctures, the punctate wounds right there.
Okay.
And that made me think that it was more teeth than claw marks.
This here you're describing
Yes.
as punctate?
Punctate,
Now,
yeah.
you never got the benefit of seeing Mr. O'Keefe, did you?
Personally, no.
It's very insulting. That's really, really insulting. That's really, really insulting. See, Nick Rocco says their expert better be able to show us which piece caused the mark on his arm. Yeah. Fair point, Nick. Fair point. I mean, you got Hank Brennan that's saying, well, how do you know, Dr. Russell, that this is dog bite? Well, there's a fucking dog in the house. There's a German Shepherd in the house. We know John went into the house. John was attacked. And then you're just going to turn around and flip it and say, all right, Hank, well, how do you know that a taillight did this? What? Because some corrupt troopers mashed the shit out of it and sprinkled taillight pieces all over the scene. It was found weeks afterwards. You know, Mark Betterow made a good point. How about this? If they were so concerned with containing the scene that night and because they were dealing with the elements, then why not court off that scene? You have some police officers down there. They're going to watch that scene, okay, until, how about this? You get 50 guys out there with shovels and you start digging around that whole area to find the taillight, right? Make more sense. If this is, if Karen hit John, then why not contain the scene that way? Why not go up and start knocking on all these doors out in and around there? None of that happened. None of that happened. All right, let's keep playing a little bit more, and we'll go to.
Did you know he was
closing
Irish?
arguments.
Light skin,
Makes sense with that
Yeah.
name.
freckles, moles.
I've been trying to get Nick on the
all
show.
over his body. You don't think the
Come
dog was
on, Nick.
puncturing up all over here, did you?
You gotta get up here with me.
No,
Right. So these are the same. These little things, these skin blemishes, same as these all over the body.
oh, you're a doctor?
Oh, I just want to do this really quick.
Do you think
You know,
that
all my Californian friends, please, if you live in and around the LA area, you need to get out of there. It's bad. I had Collier Landry on my show last night. I did a quick update from home. Collier was on. He was 2 miles from the fires. I mean, it's brutal. Everything is gone and devastated. It's just gone. There's no water. There's no water. But please, all my Californian friends, friends here of me, the show, please take care of yourself. Because it's you don't want to mess around with fire. And I just feel terrible. I feel terrible. It's going to be a complete, total loss of that area in California. It's going to be one of the most, I think they said it's going to be the most major disaster that has ever hit California. It's going to be billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars to fix that. And, you know, this administration that's out there, you have a governor that just didn't seem to care. The mayor was over on fucking vacation, you know, over in Ghana. She had to come back and she's going, oh, well, I was in full contact with my team. No, you're on vacation, bro. Like, what are you doing? And then had to come back. So please just be safe. Just be safe. All right, let's play a little bit more and we'll get to the closing arguments.
what you're describing as dog puncture wounds
Good to hear, Nick.
mistaken for just his skin and the different types of
I hope Alan's
marks
okay.
on his skin, like freckles or moles?
Yeah.
I don't believe so, particularly since they're right where those wounds are, the abrasions are.
Well, wouldn't the skin blemishes be there before any abrasions?
Because
I
he's
haven't
Irish.
seen a picture of him before this incident.
Okay. So to get back to, we're now at, this is either a dog bite or it's a scratch. What is it about the top two that tell you it's a dog bite?
Would you rephrase that? Or, I mean, would
You're
you say it
saying-
again?
You're saying these are either dog bites or scratches. That's what you're saying. You're not
Mhm.
sure which one, but it's
Well, it definitely
a
come
dog.
from it
That's
didn't
your
come from a
position.
tail
Yes.
light.
Okay.
I can tell you
What
that.
about these two are telling you that this is a dog bite?
I think I said it already previously, that they're parallel. They're parallel lines that seem to have these punctate lesions associated with them. And they're in and around the other lesions, I believe, are dog bites.
When a dog punctures and pulls, there's not an island of skin and then it goes back to the pole. The puncture starts at the pole and then it goes to the bottom, doesn't it?
There are no complete puncture wounds on this arm.
Well, you just cited puncture wound as the reason why you think this was a dog bite. You said these aren't
That is
these are not a skin condition, rather they're puncture wounds, and that was the basis for saying these are bites.
No.
If you don't know if these are puncture wounds or not, how can you say these are dog bite?
First of all, I did not say, with all due respect, I did not say they were puncture wounds. They are punctate lesions.
You're not going to trick
Okay.
her. She ain't going to fall for it, Hanky.
And so
They're different.
the punctate lesion, is that caused by a tooth?
Yes, I believe it is.
And you know when a dog punctures, it then tears and pulls.
Only if they penetrate the skin. They have to penetrate in order to pull,
Okay. And the
to create a laceration and pull.
and a puncture is not a
I keep laughing too. I think it's hilarious how Lally's just become the coffee boy now. We don't hear anything from him. We don't hear anything from him anymore. And he's just the coffee boy. You know, go get me my coffee, Lally.
penetration.
A puncture is, a punctate lesion is not.
And so what about these two linear abrasions? What science, what comparative analysis, what evidence do you have that these are caused by teeth
It's part of the pattern,
of this whole pattern?
of this whole pattern.
But just like wound number one, independently, this doesn't tell you anything. You can't give an opinion to a reasonable degree of medical certainty that this was caused by a dog standing on its own.
By itself, it's consistent with, but I
Nor can you prove that these were done by a taillight. I mean, this theory to me, Hank, is a lot more plausible than the ridiculous taillight theory. I mean, I think the room will agree with me in that one, Hank.
But yes, I cannot say by itself that it's caused by a dog.
Okay.
That
this-
lesion by itself.
And there's nothing about these scratches that are consistent with the horseshoe shape of a nail of a dog, is there?
You mean the horseshoe shape of the jaw?
No, the
of a
dog's nail, the dog's nails.
paw nail?
Donate to who? Got to just let me know a little bit more specific. To me, to Karen Reed. Karen Reed, you can donate to Karen Reed at KarenReed.net. FreeKarenReed.net. I'm sorry. And I'll drop that in there. FreeKarenReed.net.
Toenail?
To me, you can hit the super chat button that's down below, or you become a member, or you can Venmo. My links are dropping in the chat.
There's nothing specific. No.
So again, to have any real opinion to a medical degree of certainty, you need to look at everything together. You cannot look at this and tell us any specific identifying feature that would support an opinion or conclusion to a degree of medical certainty it was caused by a dog bite or a dog scratch.
Mr. Brennan, that's the way medicine is. You know,
I
with
love this right
medicine,
here. Counter is great.
you don't just look at one
Look at the totality.
complaint or one wound or one test and make a diagnosis. You usually need several supporting tests or
totality of the
other
evidence.
lesions to corroborate a diagnosis. So that's
Just like you would do in a trial. You look at the totality of the case. You look at the totality of the evidence.
that's part of medicine.
So you would agree with my statement, what I just said?
She's not falling
Repeat
for
it.
it.
Of course. So there is nothing specific regards to these three scratches in and of themselves without looking at the entire arm. There's nothing about these three that you can say with specificity that supports an opinion that they were caused by a dog bite or a dog scratch.
I disagree. I
Okay.
think the combination of the punctate lesions right there and there,
Mhm.
along with the linear parallel abrasions, supports that assessment.
Do you have any papers, any studies that show that a scratch like this, that would look like this, is a dog bite or a dog scratch based just on the appearance of these three scratches?
Just on the appearance, no. Usually the studies that I've read have pictures of multiple lesions, and in those pictures of multiple lesions, there may be lesions like this, individual lesions.
She's not going to fall for it,
You
Hank.
can't tell, in your opinion, these are dog bites or dog scratches. So is there anything specific about them that can lead you to a reasonable conclusion, to a reasonable degree of medical certainty that these were caused by a dog? Putting aside the whole panoply of scratches, these here, what about them is unique and distinct?
Objection, Your Honor.
I'll allow just that.
Would you allow it?
Two.
What about them?
Okay, again, there
See, Nick says Dr. Russell was nervous up there. She felt like she was on trial being harassed by the skank Brennan. Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, this is how it's kind of been through even just Karen Reed, trial one was that way too. I mean, Lally was, I think Mazza's looking for a link. Come on up, Mazza. Yeah, super disrespectful. And Nick, thanks for sharing that. I know you have, you're pretty close to Karen in the team. All right, let's play a little bit more, and then when we get to the closing arguments, I thought those were phenomenal. I thought Robert Alessi was amazing in his argument and brought forth a great point. But we're gonna, this is the battle that's gonna go on for about another hour here with Hank Brennan and Dr. Russell, and she's just not gonna give in. She's too smart. She's too smart, and she didn't seem rattled at all. She didn't seem rattled at all. She didn't seem rattled at all. Let me just do this. There he is. What's up, buddy?
What's going on, man? How you doing?
Good. Thanks for jumping up, man. Nice to see you.
No problem, bro. I was supposed to come on a little earlier, but I got caught up eating. I was eating
It's
some
all
salad.
right.
I hadn't
You
had
having wings?
dinner. I didn't have dinner when I was on the Young Jerks. I didn't eat dinner like 8:25 or something like that. So I was like, oh man, I was gonna come right on your show, but I had to wait, eat, and some other things quickly came up. So I'm like, let me jump on this show and hang out tonight. So
Did you have wings?
grilled chicken salad.
You are a chicken eater. You love chicken.
I am protein and vegetables. That's why I'm back on the diet right now. So
I'm so with
weight.
you, Matt. When I'm done with all this teeth shit tomorrow and I start healing, I'm literally going to get back to eating clean. The Diet Cokes are going away. The chips. Just, it's going to be tough, but I'm doing it. All right.
Let's so much bad stuff and then was sick. So just all of a sudden my body fat level has kind of gone up a few percentage points.
And you're feeling better now.
Oh, I am. Yeah. I'm pretty much over it. Pretty much.
All right, let's hear a little bit more here of Hank Brennan trying to trip up Dr. Russell. We know this is not going to happen. And then we'll go to the closing arguments and we'll play that Court TV segment. Thanks for jumping on, Maz. I appreciate it.
Dog bites and scratches. And together with the overall picture of the numerous wounds, it paints a picture that makes me sure that this is from a dog attack.
Yeah, she's not going to give in.
I won't ask again, but I wasn't asking about the overall wounds. We're going to get to that. I was asking just about these three, but I'll leave your answer as it stands. Let's move to wound number 3. Now, wound number 3 really is a collection of scrapes, and you gave some testimony about the first 2. So if we look at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So in wound 3, we have 5 larger abrasions on the top of the elbow. You see that?
Dog bite.
It looks like a dog claw.
Dog bite.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
And I want to ask you some questions. And what I'll do, this is wound 3. I'll talk about scrape 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So we know what
wait, Mazza, at one point, and I don't know where it is in the testimony, he actually calls them dog bites.
Yeah.
He actually called them dog bites at one point. We'll take a look at the dog bites. I mean, the scrapes.
Yeah. You gotta track that down. Oh
yeah,
my gosh.
I saw it. I heard it. I went, holy shit. He actually called them dog bite. I think it was in the very beginning when they started this portion of the testimony, but I'll have to go back and try to find it.
Yeah.
Maybe someone in here knows where I would think that Joe Flipperhead probably flipped it. So I don't know if you want to run through his Twitter, it may be up there.
Yeah.
If you want to do a little research, it may be up there. But he
that.
called them dog bites at one point.
Yeah.
It was incredible.
Yes, but again, any one little tiny part of the component of the image or wound is, it's not going to be sufficient to make a diagnosis. I need the pattern.
You never recognize that in your voir dire testimony or in your trial testimony before the jury that you needed the collection of all abrasions to have an opinion. Instead, isn't it fair to say that you were talking about individual wounds as if they stood on their own?
I believe that.
Your Honor.
Can you answer that?
That is unfair. That's incorrect.
It wasn't until Mr. Alisi directed you that you started talking about dog attack and collection of wounds as a whole.
That is incorrect.
Okay.
Of this.
So looking at these wounds, wound number 3, and I know it may be a series of wounds, it might not be one wound in your opinion, but let's talk about this collection of abrasions, okay? Do you remember in the voir dire talking about this collection of abrasions and you were saying they were consistent with teeth or claw marks?
Okay.
Is that what you said at the voir dire?
I'd have to look again.
Okay. Well, why don't we look at page 38, line 13?
Mine is gone. I don't have a board there.
Okay. We'll have to get you one.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, it's 48, line 13.
What page?
That one's not right either. No.
I want to find that part where he literally calls them dog bites. Like I'm gonna, if I have to go through this, he literally, I remember he called them dog bites. I think I tweeted about it. I actually think I tweeted about it, and I was like, "What? He just called them dog bites." Let me see if Joe Flipperhead put anything up there about it. He's usually pretty good at catching it. I'll keep playing through this though.
Yeah.
Look, I'll look.
Okay. Well, let me withdraw that question. Did you testify previously that these are consistent with teeth or claw marks?
Did I testify when?
Previously.
Possibly, yes.
Okay. And do you have a different opinion today whether these are teeth or claw marks?
No.
So you think that these could either be teeth or claw marks?
I think they're more likely teeth marks,
Which one of these 5 do you think are teeth marks?
all of them.
You think all 3 are teeth marks? Do you think a dog bit Mr. O'Keefe and inflicted these at the same time or different times?
I believe that this was this configuration, this collection right
Yes.
here. I
Yeah,
believe this is one bite.
Yeah,
one
it's
bite.
right.
And so if we were to follow
Lightly.
your theory, this was one bite, this would be the arc of the dog's mouth?
Yeah,
Yes.
you got it right,
Well,
Hank. Yeah,
Those
Is there an
smaller
arc
holes
here?
in the bottom teeth.
yeah.
Yeah.
There appears to be.
Okay. And we know that when a dog punctures it, then from the top teeth pulls down, the bottom pulls up, right?
Push it.
So if this is the arc of the dog right here, and it's like a half of a sun or a half moon over the elbow, you claim these 2 dots are consistent with puncture wounds?
No, punctate lesions.
Oh, punctate lesions, I'm sorry. Which teeth, upper or lower teeth, do you think
Mandy says-
caused these 5?
Mandy says they're certainly not caused by hard plastic, Hanky.
I believe those were the upper teeth.
So you believe this is a canine on the left, number 1, and a canine
There's
on
a
the
lot
right,
of
number
weed
5?
talk going on
Could
in
be.
that tonight,
Okay.
Mazza.
Yeah.
A lot of people.
Now-
I know.
talking
There's a
about
lot of
weed.
talk. Yeah.
Here's the arc of the dog's
I don't-
mouth.
I don't partake
And this-
in the Weedle, just not for
Yeah.
me. But I know a lot of people that partake in the Weedle. I know Mike is a huge Weedle activist, very active in the cannabis people. Hey, whatever you need to do, if it works for you, go for it. Is what I say.
This is a canine on 1 and 5.
There'll be no dare messages on this
Where do
channel.
the canines puncture and pull? Up or down?
I'm sorry, say that
Excuse
again?
me.
Where do the canine teeth puncture? From the bottom or from the top?
So if these are, let me use my pointer here. If these are canines, and this could, by the way, be this also could be 2 separate bites. But if these are canines, they usually would start on based on this picture, the upper or higher area and
Right.
pull down.
They would have to start up and pull down if that was a arc of a mouth, wouldn't it? But you see the bottom of these wounds, right? The round part
Mhm.
that is closer to a puncture is on the bottom. Aren't they going in the wrong direction? If this is the arc of the mouth?
No, I don't think that they are going in the wrong direction. You have to keep in mind,
It
That-
smells like boiled cabbage.
presumably, Mr. O'Keefe was not standing there and letting the dog just chew on his arm. Okay, that there's
How do you
relative
know that?
Right.
move.
Yeah.
How do you know that?
I mean, come on, human instinct, human
How
reaction
do you know that he
times,
didn't, Hank?
reflex instinct.
Questions allowed.
How do you know?
What's that, Mark?
It's a natural human reflex. You know,
Yeah.
I hate to bring up martial arts, but I'm going to bring it up. You know, had class last night. Every time everybody throws a punch, you naturally react. You know, it's just the way it is. It's human instinct to react to anything. I mean, if anything comes at you, you're going to have a reaction. This guy's trying to question that. It's reaching, is what it is. It's reaching.
100%. 100%. All right, we'll keep playing through a
he
little
was
bit
doing.
more. Then I want to get to the closing arguments. They're great.
Because it's normal human behavior that if you're,
How do you know what he was doing? How do you know what Mr. O'Keefe was doing that night?
again,
He wasn't
it's normal
comatose.
human behavior to pull away from someone that's
There
attacking
you go.
you,
It's a
a
reaction. It's a
person
reflex.
or an animal. That's normal human behavior. If he was,
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this before, Mark, and just to bring up this point, you know, if I throw a ball at your head, what are you going to do as a, you know, you're a martial artist, right? You're going to try to protect the face, protect the vital organs, the neck. We're talking I took a little martial arts when I was like 14, 15. I made it to yellow belt with a white stripe.
That's awesome.
But
The white stripe is
that's
serious.
what you're taught to protect. And just human instinct, what do? We usually turn away. We bring our arm up and we turn. So I'm gonna throw a 200-pound dog. I don't know what's a German Shepherd, 150-pound German Shepherd. I'm going to have that German Shepherd jump towards you. What are you going to do? You're going to turn. You're going to put your arm up to protect
brace for impact.
Organs. Yeah.
Yep. It's like in football. If someone's going to get tackled, they kind of start to prepare themselves for that attack. It's blatantly. And what you're going to do is you're going to use, if you're getting attacked at the face or whatever, you're going to go, either it's going for his arm or he used his arm to defend himself, or both things happen. And then the thing's going to latch on to you. And it's going to be a real painful situation, quite obviously. Especially people are probably assaulting you at the same time, too.
100%. Mike, if you want, I know you're in the chat. I'm not sure what you're doing, but no pressure. You can jump up with me and Mark. We're just hanging out here a little bit. If not, we're going to get our rotation going pretty soon here. And thank you, by the way, for letting me jump up on that power panel tonight on your channel. If anybody didn't catch that show, go over and check out the two Marks and Mike were on Young Jerks just before this show. So we'll play a little bit more. And then when
throughout this whole
we also discussed cannabis earlier, Mike.
I'd be looking for
discuss the cannabis, the weedle.
a different set of wounds.
You're speculating.
We'll get Mike going
about all of these comments about what he was
He'll
doing.
get me high just talking about it.
What he was doing. Do you?
I'm just
Objection, Your Honor.
Attaboy.
The question.
Real quick, just want to notify this. Mama She 13. Thank you so much for the $30 Cash App. I appreciate it. Keeps the lights on in the studio. Gets me to pay for all my dental work. I appreciate it.
You
All
answer
right,
that question,
going.
Doctor.
I'm basing it on normal human behavior.
And so,
most people react to a dog when they so much as growl at them.
Yeah.
The part that's thicker, that is more similar, although not a puncture, would start at the bottom and work up, meaning the dog's head was over here on the top. You disagree with me about that?
Just
Do
smiling.
I disagree?
Yes.
Yeah, I believe that that's
Okay.
incorrect.
And if these are canines, did you measure the distance between the canines?
Again, there's no ruler, but the other thing is we don't know what position his elbow was in at the
Right.
time of this. So it could be, although it looks like it's a larger, a larger
Alan Jackson just like
configuration
that
than
red eye.
a normal
Yeah.
canine distance into canine
He looked
distance.
exhausted, like he hadn't
That's
slept
what
in
you're
30
referring
hours.
to.
yeah, it was
into
he looked
canine
tired.
distance.
Yeah.
If his arm was flexed, that distance would be shorter. So you cannot make any assessment based on this picture.
Do you notice?
All right, I'm going to pause there. I want to kind of jump to the closing arguments. We've done about an hour of testimony here. I'd love to go through the other, it's probably another hour and a half here, but I want to get out to the closing arguments. Let's see. We got Hank Brennan that's going to cry like a school kid in a playground that he didn't get the lightsaber to play with in the sandbox. Trying to really attack Dr. Russell, say that she's not an expert. She has no clue what the hell she's talking about. And then to have Robert Alessi get back up there and just smash Brennan into the ground and say how credible Dr. Russell is. All right, let's play here. I'm going to double time this up a little bit here.
Yeah.
To speed it up a little bit. We'll move this along because I do want to play a little bit from the Court TV segment as well. Let's see. We'll go here.
Cases for your Honor's consideration. The first one out of the District of Massachusetts Federal Court is Hines 55 Federal Supplement, second, page 62. It's a 1992 case.
You're right back.
Sure.
It had to do with a soft science handwriting analysis. It was a very thorough and thoughtful case that talked about soft sciences, methodology, and when there was an absence of methodology. In that case, I'm sure Your Honor is aware, it had to do with a proposed witness who wanted to look at a handwriting exemplar and provide an opinion of a so-called match. The court said there were very important canons, very important principles or foundations that have to be considered when we're discussing a soft science. Empirical study is not enough. Simply because somebody has seen something before, whether it's once or twice or 100 times, it's not a science. It's not a methodology. It's not medicine. It is a personal aside. A
potential expert has to be in a better position to understand and explain to jurors rather than a simple layperson. That means there has to be some level of methodology, some type of guidance, some type of study, so that they can assist the jury in better understanding what they believe their conclusions are. Empirical is not enough because a subjective opinion without medical, factual, scientific support is just an opinion. A person can look at the constellations and see the Big Dipper, they can see Orion. It's a matter of perspective. It's no different.
Look at the sad coffee boy stance that
I
Adam
know.
Lally has. He's literally just holding Hank Brennan's jock now. That's all he's there to do. He is a sad man. Look at the body language. He's all slumped forward. You can tell he doesn't want to be there. He's embarrassed. I love it. And that bald spot just keeps getting bigger and bigger. It's like, dude, you're trying to hold on to this fucking hair in the front that just wants to leave your existence. Just shave your head. It's okay. Like, just be confident in it, man. Like, shave your head. I hate
2 creams, 2 sugar, Adam. 2 creams, 2 sugar.
I just hate guys that try to hold on to their fucking hair. Just shave your head. You spend all this money on I was talking to somebody, I'm gonna do a transplant. Why? It's gonna fall out in 3 months. Just shave your head. I did it. What the hell? All right.
Different when we have something like a soft science, something different than DNA, where a person wants to give an opinion because
Twist of lemon, Adam Lally.
that's not enough. And in this case, Dr. Russell has
Wound.
never been in the business of identifying dog bite wounds. She treats them. She's an emergency room physician, had some experience as an ME. She treats a wound that is brought to her. She's not diagnosing the wound or determining the
Lally's pondering life.
She doesn't have the education. She doesn't have.
He's pondering, when's my
She
next
doesn't have the training
cigarette?
for that. That is not what her job is. It is to treat the injury.
When's the
And
next
so
cut?
all of her perspective and opinions are empirical. She doesn't have a book. She doesn't have a study that teaches her how to. She never took a training. She never took a class.
He didn't even have lunch with Lally. He had lunch with somebody else that day.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah, I
Everybody
did see
posted
that
a picture.
photograph.
Yeah.
That's right.
Use her memory and
He
make a
didn't
decision whether or
with
not she
him.
thinks this is similar. That is not science. That is not medical certainty. And so there's nothing to suggest that whatever method she used, I still can't identify it because I don't know, despite many questions of asking her, what her methodology is, other than she says it's pattern recognition analysis. It's empty phrasing unless you can identify and articulate what is the specificity, what is the standard, and we still don't know.
Thank
After
you,
all this
GD.
testimony, we don't
Yeah.
know. In Cromwell versus Rintala, that case had to do with the prosecution.
Beck's comment. He doesn't even pretend to be
So,
busy.
and this is, could not fit more closely to this case. The commission was
I love
overturned because the
Remember when
prosecution
he's,
was expert.
What the hell is he was stimming the other day? I caught him. He was stimming.
Yeah.
He was like, geez, his hand was like all over the place. He couldn't wait to get out and get a cigarette. You know, he's fucking thinking like, dude, I just need a cigarette, man.
It was found to be prejudicial because the expert relayed their past experience about pain spills, exactly what Dr. Russell did in this case. No more, no less. Her past experience treating injuries that were reported as dog bites, a person with their past experience with pain spills.
At least body
court was
language.
very specific in Ronaldo about why this was improper and why it was prejudicial. It said that just because a witness has experience or particular experience and decides to use that as a methodology does not make it methodology. And it's just like Dr. Russell's testimony. There is nothing about it that employs methodology. In Ronaldo, pardon?
Your tactics again.
Papa.
Paper and
Direct the court to page 39. And it talked about when the expert used methods to determine that pain was poured or spilled. And the problem, why this case was reversed, the court said, instead, meaning the expert, he simply relayed his past experiences working with and around pain and drew conclusions therefrom. That is exactly what Dr. Russell has done. She has relayed her past experiences working with and around treating dog bites and drew her conclusions from that.
They are dog
It's like
wounds.
Cromwell versus-
yeah, the dog wound. I love this.
Probably saying that
Yeah.
wrong as well.
Resting bitch face says I would be 100% be practicing the master of the art of sleeping with my eyes open if I were Lally. I used to do the thing in class where I'd like hide one eye and close it and just have one eye open so the teacher instructor thought I was paying attention. I'd be dozing off.
What that quotes is while training and experience, which the expert referred, might have taught the expert methodology. It is not itself a methodology.
Looks like a man.
And so
That's
while
coming up.
Dr. Russell may have taught herself or been intrigued or interested in dog bites, it is no methodology. The defense has introduced a couple of articles. Those articles do not describe or lay out a methodology for identifying dog bite wolves.
Not as your
They
shitty
don't
book
provide a
you tried to
standard.
bring into
They
trial,
do not
into the
provide a
hearing.
comparison. They don't provide any guidance. And so the danger in having somebody go before a jury and portray themselves as an expert when they have no
Oh,
methodology is they can pretty much provide any opinion they want to the jury that can be unchecked because it's not.
I'm no expert, but I can tell those are dog ones.
Yeah.
It can't be analyzed. It's not peer reviewed. It's just an opinion. And when an expert lacks methodology, classic things happen, which happened in this case. What happens is that a witness does not actually have certainty about what they're saying. A witness is prone to change their opinion because there is no standard or methodology to confine them.
Jen, we're
A
getting there.
witness
Thank you for
can
being a
just change
member.
their mind
We're
without
getting
no
there.
information because
We
it
last
suits their
surgery
purpose.
tomorrow. Over.
When we looked at Exhibit 5, and we actually broke down the wounds, the second wounds, 5 wounds, the doctor, I believe, concedes when you look at each of those abrasions independently. She cannot say with scientific certainty. She can't say with any certainty that those were caused by a dog. Her fallback was when you look at the entire series of wounds, that equals a dog attack. No basis, no reason why we reached that bridge from uncertainty to dog attack, other than just because she said so.
All right. I think we know how Brennan's going to keep continuing to kind of argue and attack this. Let's go to Robert Elise and see his counter on this. I thought it was phenomenal.
Is it pronounced Elise?
Is
that
it
how-
Elise or is it
I've been saying
Alessi?
Alessi. I've been saying Alessi. I'm not sure if you knew better than
I've
I
heard
did. so.
Elise and then I've heard Alessi.
Okay.
So I think I just naturally go to Elise, and I
Elise, okay.
apologize.
That's all right.
I think you're right, Mark. It is Alessi.
Alessi. Okay, that's
know
right. I
what
heard
it
you say
is?
it earlier. I was like, I didn't know if that was saying it wrong the whole time.
I keep thinking of the audio equipment Elise, and I think that's what
okay.
keeps bringing me there, and I don't
Oh,
mean
got it.
but I
Okay.
could be wrong on that.
All
So I apologize. No
problem.
disrespect to Robert Elisi. We'll make sure we start getting that correctly going forward. But we'll hear a little bit his argument, and then I do want to play through that the Karen Reed segment on Court TV where Nick just killed it and called Kevin Plevin, which was great.
Plevin.
Plevin. I love Alessi, and I talked about this on Mike's show, and I think you agreed. I think he matches up very well with Brennan to do that 1-2 punch, that 1-2 battle. I think going into trial, I think you may see him a lot. You may see him a lot on these specific areas. I think in tune to the dog bite, and that's really why I think he was brought in to really argue these points. But it's going to be very interesting to see where he goes with this. But I love this. I love this counter argument. Great.
The greatest danger to the issues in this case, the greatest danger to a defense right to a jury trial and present its witnesses to have an entire motion
stands at the podium, professional,
Yeah, exactly.
supported by nothing.
Professional. It's going to play well with the jury. When you have someone that's, you saw that a lot in the first trial, that a lot of Karen's defense team used the podium. A lot of time, Alan likes to kind of move around a lot, but you saw David Yannetti use it a lot. Liza used it. I love this tactic as well. This is going to play off from the jury. I think Mark Betterow was saying that, Hank Brennan's kind of attack of these witnesses may not play well with a jury. It may turn them off. Where normally, what do you say? They usually play like the white knight. They have to be the hero in all of this, and it might rub some jurors a little wrong. But we'll keep playing here.
But the assertions of an attorney on the other side, that is the greatest danger to our system. That is the greatest danger to a defendant being able to present their case in their view. Remarkably, all of the arguments you just heard now
I love this.
do not come from a medical doctor, which Your Honor has said causation of an injury to a person in Massachusetts must come from a medical doctor. Where is the affidavit? Where is the report of a prosecution witness to support one statement Mr. Brennan just made in 30 minutes? Where is it? It doesn't exist. I would like to start my argument and tell you exactly where I'm going to go.
He is pro bono. I learned that the hard way during the Young Jerks
tonight.
tonight.
What the issues are for this motion.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start my argument with what is the
forgot all
legal
about that. I was
standard
like, oh, that's
that
right.
Your Honor faces to answer. And I know Your Honor knows it. I'm just doing it for the logic in the presentation. I'm going to go through that.
Respectful.
I'm going to identify specific case law of dog wound cases, not paint cases, not others, because it matters. Because Daubert and Lanigan are so flexible and so nuanced, it's got to be the issue before it. Paint cases that Mr. Brennan mentioned are irrelevant. So I'm going to go through cases.
Love his body language and energy.
To
Great.
dog wounds on humans.
Passionate.
Then what I'm going to do is to go through the completely inaccurate
Nathan
statements of
Reed
Mr.
loving
Brennan.
it right
He
behind
said it,
him.
I
You know what I mean?
marked
I
it
love
down
watching
8 times in just this
Karen
argument
handle.
alone. There's no methodology. I'm going to go through and say what the methodology she testified to was, where it's rooted, and then I am going to go into why Dr. Russell is actually stronger in December than she was in June. So let me start out with the baseline for this hearing.
Strong introduction there by his.
Yeah.
for
The
his final
January
words.
20th transcript, page 1-4. And if Your Honor will indulge me, it's what Your Honor said, and I'm going to read it verbatim. This was when Dr. Russell was challenged by the prosecution the first time. Line 15. I find that she is a medical doctor. She's an experienced ER doctor, albeit, several years ago since she's worked at that capacity, but that she does have specialized knowledge in that field that may assist the jury in that regard. So
I want to make a point here too for everybody in the audience. Now, Bev said this is a new trial. He's now gone back to the previous trial. And the good thing about this, and Mark's going to probably agree with me, is what is he doing right now? He's getting this on the record.
That's right.
This is on the record. So he's quoting, even though Bev said, this is a smart tactic, even though Bev said, this is a new trial, he's now bringing the older trial, the first trial, into this possible second trial, having it on the record, and it's going to help if we ever have to go into appellate process or anything like that.
Right.
It's on the record. I don't think we're going to get there. I think Howie Carr was spot on the other day in his article that Karen Reed will be acquitted in 2025.
I think so.
I truly believe that. You're not going to want to fuck with these lawyers this time around. They're ready.
Yep.
They're ready to go. They're not going to get tripped up. They know exactly how they're going to tackle this. And Karen will be acquitted in 2025.
Yep.
I will
if you
play a little bit more.
compare the level of information that Your Honor had at that time to reach the conclusion to what we have presented in this hearing, 11-page single-spaced report. And Your Honor noted before that there wasn't a report, so we wanted to respect that and get a report. Your Honor has sat through testimony, which I'm going to adduce, but not too much because you sat and heard it, and went through her qualifications, and we adduced much more of her qualifications, much more than were adduced when Your Honor first found that finding and made that finding.
She was
So
last
let's
time
start with
around.
the
And she was
law.
admitted last time.
Yeah.
As the
Mr.
witness.
Brennan and I agree on one thing.
Permitted.
The Rottola case is relevant. But respectfully, Mr. Brennan went off in a tangent because what does Rottola stand for that's relevant here?
Ricola.
Quote, the crucial issue, in determining whether a witness is qualified to give an expert opinion is whether the witness has sufficient education, training, experience, and familiarity with
I
the
think she's
subject
got all
matter
that.
of the testimony. What is the subject matter of the testimony? It's what are the cause of the wounds to the decedent's right arm. I submit that if you ran an artificial intelligence program,
I love this.
you couldn't come up with a more perfect witness
Yeah.
for the subject matter of this testimony. Emergency medicine physician, 29 years experience, forensic trained pathologist
right now.
who has co-authored books on dog bites. She's well-versed in the articles. She is consulted by experts like Dr. Vale that you heard about for these types of issues. The crucial issue of whether she's qualified to me is 100% her favor, and I don't believe you could find another witness more qualified. And that's the crucial inquiry. What's the second prong of the inquiry? After qualifications, is the methodology reliable? That's the second. Whether Mr. Brennan agrees, and 95% of what he argued, that's for cross at trial. But more importantly, That's for a jury to determine. That's the job and province of a jury, to determine whether, assuming Mr. Brennan ever gets a doctor to come in and counter Dr. Russell, it's for a jury to decide which expert do we give more weight to. But the focus of this hearing, why are we here? The second prong is the methodology. Mr. Brennan, 8 times in just this argument now, and he tried it on cross, said there's absolutely no methodology. Your Honor sat and heard the same thing that all of us heard. She went through her own pattern recognition methodology, especially in redirect, but she did it very thoroughly in a report and very thoroughly on direct. She went through what it is. And importantly, counter to what the Commonwealth just said, she says it's rooted in the medical literature. We just heard the statement that there's no support for it. Munich and Pollock. And we walked through, with your Honor's gracious indulgence, we walked through specific sentences and paragraphs where that pattern recognition methodology is stated. And here's a key. Remember, please, the word pathognomonic. This pattern is so specific.
He's so passionate
that it almost by itself rules out anything else. That's the definition of pathognomonic. And that's the definition. And Dr. Russell used highly characteristic, but she did note and explain what another study said was pathognomonic. It's incredible to me that it can be stated that there's no methodology here and that there's no basis for it. It is generally accepted in the medical community. That's the purpose of the Pollock and the Munich article, is to establish that it is accepted. Dr. Russell is not coming here to the court and just testifying, it's my subjective empirical statement. Mr. Brennan tries to do in his argument exactly what an expert rejected and for which he has no support. And that is to say, we got to look at these wound by wound by wound. And he said 0, 0, 0, 5 times 0 is 0. He tried that on cross. Dr. Russell rejected that resoundingly. She said, you're missing the point.
The passion
the point
in his
is
voice,
the
huh,
pattern.
Mark?
You look at these all together, and it's the pattern that matters. And the authors, Pollock and Munich, say that pattern is pathognomonic. You really don't even have to go to other causes, although Dr. Russell said she did, because that's what good, thorough doctors do. So it is incorrect that Dr. Russell didn't explicate a methodology. It's incorrect that she didn't explicate that there's a rooting in the medical community and that it's generally accepted. Now let's go to the cases. Mr. Brennan cited to a paint case, etc., but interestingly, and in contrast, in our papers, which Mr. Brennan has had for almost a month, and he didn't respond, interestingly, we cited to the Lobello case, the Brinker case, both of which are dog wound injury cases, not pain cases. I know a little bit about Lobello because I know a little bit about the firm.
I'm thinking actor Cole Hauser to portray Paul in the movie. I was thinking that the other day when I was watching Yellowstone.
And the exact argument that Mr. Brennan just made was expressly rejected by the court on a dog-like case, a dog wound case.
It's just the passion.
Yeah.
You know, for someone that hasn't been in this case very long to jump on board and probably, you know, he's obviously probably watched some of the trial coverage or gone through that. And, you know, why not? That's probably why he said, I can probably help this team out. I don't know how the addition, you know, worked, how he came onto the team. I'd love to hear the story, how he got onto the team. But you just hear in just a short amount of time, the passion in this man's voice of the law and getting through to this judge that, you know, Dr. Russell is well beyond qualified as a dog expert. And obviously in the end that Karen Reed is not guilty. I mean, you can hear it. And it blows me away every time I hear him speak. And this closing argument was just a great testimony to
very
all
thorough.
of that. Yeah.
Establishes why she's an expert, what she knows, what her qualifications are, and again, the fact that she was permitted as a witness in the first trial, and again, they've established her qualifications far further heading into the second trial.
Yeah. So let's play a little bit more, and then we'll go to that court TV segment. But this was nice to just kind of jump in and hear little bits and pieces of how all this went down. All right, here we go.
Here's what the court said. The court finds that Dr. Sirota qualified as an expert on the presentation. This is on Westlaw page 10. The court finds Dr. Sirota qualified as an expert.
Good point by Lee Baker. He said, Alessi slapped Brennan down and did not cite, and did it with citing law, not spinning a narrative like Brennan. It's a good point. It's a really good point.
the presentation, treatment, and medical sequelae of an attack by a dog. Here's the key. As explained in his expert report, Dr. Sirota has personally repaired thousands of wounds and lacerations, including wounds and lacerations caused by dog bites. And he's authored a number of peer-reviewed articles in the areas of his certification, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so there is a dog bite case from the Southern District of New York, not an insignificant court, as recent as 2023, saying a doctor that sees and treats all these, that's reliable. And this was a Daubert challenge, Your Honor. This wasn't an incidental question.
Real quick, just a question for Nick Rocco, because I know you're in the chat. Do you know how Alessi became part of the Karen team? Could you give us kind of a short version if you know? Did he reach out to them, or did they find them through a process?
Yeah, be a good question.
Challenge was defendant's motion to preclude expert.
What's that, Mark?
That'd be a great question to get an answer to. I'd be interested in knowing myself. He's out of New York, Katie.
Yeah, definitely. I wonder if Mark Betterow secretly made the connection there. He could have.
He did. Yeah, we were talking about it in the show. He said, "Yeah, it's about it's a block over, so it'd take about 30 minutes to get there in New York City time." Maybe,
but that would be a nice question to get an
testimony.
answer.
Albeit federal rules of 702, but we know in Massachusetts it's Daubert, Lanigan. You can satisfy Daubert, the federal, but you also Lanigan, and under Davis, you can have generally accepted in the medical community as well. There's one case. Another dog bite case, we cite Brinker, that Mr. Brennan didn't address, is a federal court case in Indiana where same challenge to a doctor,
wow.
About the cause.
David helped Bob with something in the past, and David reached out. Alessi has been part of the team since the first trial, but more in the background. Wow. So they kind of brought him out this time. Let's bring him out. That's great. All right, we'll play a little bit more here, and then I do want to get to the court TV segment, but I mean, we're getting the brilliance here of Robert Alessi just really smashing it.
And it was the cause of the injury to the person there. And the court basically said in that case that this expert here, and they challenged the causation issue, said that doctors who have experience in treating them, that's enough in and of itself. We don't need to go into, we know Daubert's flexible. You don't have to use all 5 factors. They're called non-exclusive factors for a reason, which is a good segue now to Massachusetts cases. Mr. Brennan's hypothesis is that you can't just have somebody use.
She's rocking in her chair. She's tapping her foot. She's probably looking at the clock saying, when is this going to be over?
Years and years of experience. You've got to have something more complicated. We cited the Goodman case, a Massachusetts case, and I'll read the relevant portion. The challenge in that case was to a burn pattern. So it's not a dog bite case. I want to be clear.
She's reading People magazine or Us Weekly.
And here's what the court said. The foundation for Slowick's methodology, that was the expert here, was simplicity itself. Examine the exterior of the facility for external causes, and finding none, examine the interior of the building to locate the origin of the fire.
She's got
following the burn
Mad Libs. She's doing Mad Libs up there.
By following the burn patterns in italics, not me. And so the court basically said, here, it's simple. Just look at the patterns. This person has experience with seeing these patterns. Next case we cite, another Massachusetts case, Pasteur. What's the issue there? Not a dog bite case. I've already given you 2, but a firearm examiner in that case. The court said, and I'm going to quote, a judge may also look to his, let's get it correct, her for this case.
I'm telling you, man, that's a wig.
Common sense, as well as the depth
of
the proper experts education.
Dana Carvey, I'm telling you.
Party on experience. Read on to determine reliability. All right. So even in situations
that's not your mother, that's a man, baby.
Including dog bite cases, if a doctor has repeatedly looked at, treated, etc., they get to testify with regard to whether they believe a wound is caused by whatever. And in the 2 cases I give you, dogs. So the law is very clear.
She's literally twisting in her fucking chair right now.
Of the defense with regard to methodology, and that's what this hearing's about. That's why we're here. Is her methodology reliable? And there is what methodology, there's a pattern methodology, she testified to it, and the Commonwealth has no competent evidence whatsoever to counter that.
I agree.
It's remarkable to me that we're being faced with the challenge to whether the defense could put up a defense and put up a witness when there's no opposition to her methodology from, as your doctor has, or your other is required, a medical doctor that is required under law in Massachusetts. I also, Your Honor, want to go to.
All right, we're gonna pause this. I don't want to be rude, but it's a phenomenal re-argument. I love Mark with this, the Red Solo Cup. I love you brought that in. David Murphy says she's rocking because she's anxious because she needs a drink.
Gotta get down to Cape.
Suzanne, thank you so much for becoming a new YouTube member. It helps keep the lights on here in the studio. All right, let's go to this Court TV segment with Nick Rocco and Plevin. And Nick Rocco calls Kevin from the Yellow Cocktails Plevin.
He doesn't even bat an eye when he said it to him. He got called Plevin. He's just sitting there like, I'm used to it.
All right, let's play through this. I love it.
Very enlightening.
Again, I want to thank Mark for jumping up. It's been a little while since we've done kind of the two-person show here, but we have a phenomenal show on Sunday night with Mike over from the Young Jerks. And Mark was on that panel. And, listen, I really want to thank everybody for, continuing. We've been through a long process here through this trial and through all of these hearings. And I really mean this. I really appreciate that you all have continued to support us as creators in this and truth seekers in all of this, and really being the positive press for Karen. It means a lot, because you all know that the mainstream media is doing nothing to help her at all. And we all have to be in this. We all have to be one. And everybody has done a phenomenal job on their respective channels as to what they've done for Karen Read. And, I really enjoy being on panels with these other creators. It's been a blast. It's been a pleasure. I'm glad that we're starting to see a lot of us come around a little bit more and, put some of the bullshit stuff behind and really, forming friendships here in 2025, because we still got a long way to go. We still have an extremely long way to go. April is still a couple of months away. And, we're just going to need to keep pushing on here, raise awareness for Karen Read, spread the truth about Karen Read, and continue to fight for her and raise money because it takes a lot of money to get this defense team together. I mean, Karen, and after this, she's going to have to go possibly through civil suits. We know that there's one been filed right now, but we need this togetherness. And I must say, meeting Mark through this process has been a real pleasure. I consider him a true friend in all of this. My newfound friendship with Mike from the Young Jerks and being able to kind of cross-pollinate those platforms has been a real pleasure. We've had some really great conversations behind the scenes and got a better to know each other. And I think that was the wedge between us in the past, but getting to know him and seeing him in person helped, and having those adult face-to-face conversations, putting all our shit behind and saying, look, man, we're all in this together. Like, let's just put that shit aside and do positive things here. And I'm a firm believer that when everybody comes together as a group, they work together in a group, it just works better and beneficial for everybody. And it keeps the audience going. So I guess that's what I have to kind of say. I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Mark.
Absolutely. Well, I could have just started my own show and competed against you tonight, but I'd rather join you on your show. So there we go. That's camaraderie.
Yeah. Listen, I get it. There's a lot of that.
That's I was picking on you.
Yeah, no, I get it. But I really have pulled to the really positive people that have helped me, here on this channel. And I appreciate it. I really do. I mean,
I love being on these shows. I love going to the Young Jerks. I love coming on your show, Glaire's show, any show I can get on. I love to just participate and work with you and every other content creator out there and just work together. Just have the best experience, best conversations we possibly can with everybody. And just, I value everyone, Mike, the Young Jerks, Will the Glare, you, Aiden, Nurse Kim, so many other folks out there that are out there doing their shows too. And just everyone that tunes into these shows, everyone's donating, all that stuff. Love you guys entirely. Everyone's great and does a fantastic job. And it's great with Mark Betterow and the Young Jerks.
Yeah.
We were there with him earlier
So good.
tonight, which was great. So it's always a great time. Everybody's doing their, and plus we all can't all be on the air all day long. So it's great when, someone does an early evening show, someone does a late evening show, Mike does a 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock, you do it 8 or 9 o'clock, or someone's on before 8 and after 8. It's great because that way everyone can kind of find a show that's kind of convenient to them. You get up early in the morning and watch Tommy's CPU.
Oh, they're killing it. That
Millie
morning
Little
show
in
is
the afternoon.
great.
Yeah.
I
it's
love
great.
their morning show. They do a good job.
Yeah. No, it's
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
And just find, like you said, in finding, the show that fits your time slot and the creator or the, the person that you want to follow and find, find that time slot, but, us little channels, we love when we get the crowds, it's nice. We got what, 350 people, 371 people. That's phenomenal.
Awesome.
It's a small club and it, to have those kind of eyes on us really makes us feel good. It really does because, it's fun. The audience participation is what I love. That's why I don't like just shooting a video and dropping it. I love the live chat. It just keeps everything going and moving, and it's a good feedback, to how things are going on the show, or maybe someone has a question in the moment, or brings like a good point, or it starts an argument that you want to fight about. I think it's just great, and I love that participation. Exactly. Play a little bit of a segment here from Court TV.
Okay, thank you too.
All right, let's bring in our trial insiders. Joining me tonight, Karen Reed, supporter and creator of Justice for Officer John O'Keefe and Karen Reed Facebook page, Nick Rocco. Also with us, Massachusetts criminal defense attorney Joseph Krowski Jr. and the YouTuber behind Yellow Collar Cottage Tales, Kevin Lenahan. Great to have everyone here. All right, let me start with you, Nick. What are your thoughts here about what's happening in court now and about this evidence?
I think this is where it hits him the Plevin right away.
Attack.
Well, I think one of the most important things about the impressions of the teeth from Chloe is that this incident happened almost 3 years ago this month. So 3 years is a long time. Things can happen. Teeth can move. Teeth can fall out. So getting the impressions, is it important? Yes. But is it going to be, as far as being used in court, there's no direct bite on John's arm that's going to have a full teeth imprint on there. That when John was being attacked by the dog, I'm sure John was moving, just like Marie Russell said. He wasn't just laying there when Chloe was attacking. He was probably moving, so the dog didn't get a firm bite on his arm. And I think today, Hank Brennan was trying to prove that she wasn't an expert and that she provided basically no methodology to her claims. But in the Demunic and Pollock, the articles there, the whole reason for those articles was to point out the fact that pattern recognition is acceptable to rule in dog bites. And then you also have the case of Robert Alessi, where I believe it was in New York, a Dauber hearing as well, where if a doctor sees and treats dog wounds and injuries, they're reliable to be an expert inside of a courtroom. So, this is the defense expert. If they have Chloe, if Hank Brennan is very strong in this case, there should be no reason to exclude her because they should have an expert that's going to be able to debunk everything, that she says.
Yeah.
And one thing that I did.
Go ahead.
The other thing I was going to bring up was, today was mentioned, we heard more federal investigation, that this doctor is an ME and came to the conclusion that this was not consistent with an animal bite. But I'm sure what Plevin is going to do is tell you that, hey, you gotta believe.
Yeah, Nick. Just before Kevin has no idea. I'm sure he didn't catch it. Let me do this. I just want to bring this off to the side. How do I do that?
There you go.
Damn it.
Yep.
No, I got to reconfigure my StreamYard. I hate it the way it's set up right now.
Yep.
Oh my God.
Uh-oh.
Oh, wait, I got it. Here we go.
There you go.
Yeah.
Perfect.
This is what I want this view. Let's go back. I want to go back here a little bit. All right,
This was like the Peter Venkman and Walter Peck moment.
Yes.
And Ghostbusters.
Yes, it's true. That man has no dick. Bill Murray. Yes, it's true. That man has no dick.
I got my movie references in.
You did. I love it. All
should
right.
have an expert that's going to be able to debunk everything, that she says.
Yeah.
And one thing that I did.
Go ahead.
The other thing I was going to bring up was, today was mentioned, we heard more federal investigation, that this doctor is an Emmy and came to the conclusion that this was not consistent with an animal bite. But I'm sure what Plevin is going to do is tell you that, hey, you got to believe the feds now, but don't believe everything else they said. So it's going to be a double-edged sword no matter which way this case goes. We know what we see from the first trial.
Not to laugh.
Yeah, how about just having a battle of the experts, Joseph?
I love it.
Well,
I don't even know. Nick, I know Nick's in the chat. I'm not even sure if Nick even realized. I'm not sure if Nick realized he said that. I'm not sure if Nick blatantly said that or just kind of said that because it's kind of been like a trained thing to call him over time.
Nick, you gotta be Nick. We need the truth. Let us know in the chat. Did you know you were gonna say that, or is it just conscious mind of saying it? Let us know in the chat. I know you're watching. Kevin didn't even catch on to it. I don't think anybody. He just snuck it in there.
Dr. Russell
the whole time. It's like,
what's that, Mark?
Levin just sits there, doesn't even react, or like someone just said, blink an eye.
He goes, "Oh, look at this! Oh, I love it." He said, "Oh, I said it because 6 people bet me $100 per head to Karen Reed's defense fund." I love it.
Wow,
good stuff.
That's awesome. That's hilarious, right there.
That's great. Love the inside scoop there, Nick. Thank you. That's great.
I love it. Diagnosing the cause of an injury. Just because and I'm not discounting the fact that she is an experienced ER doctor and was a forensic medical examiner at one point, but she has never in the lifespan of her career taken an injury whose cause was unknown and followed an accepted, recognized methodology and come up with an opinion on the cause of that injury. Her experience is all empirical. People have come into the ER, they've reported that they've been bit by a dog, and she's given whatever necessary triage or treatment. And you saw it today when she was pressed, she just kept coming up with the conclusory term, pattern recognition. What is your methodology? Do you take a picture? Do you then take a known exemplar? Do you then?
Yeah, and I will say this because Mark was there that time when Plevin and I kind of me, Mark, and Plevin kind of clashed out front of the courthouse. He goes, your name's Brian, right? I'm like, come on, Kevin, you know who I am. And we caught that on video. That was really good.
That was funny.
Yeah, it was great. I'm like, dude, you know who I am. And then he went into this whole thing, and I literally went, do you think the earth is round?
That's the question.
Do you believe in science? Do you think the earth is round? He's like, that's insulting. The earth is spherical.
The cops come over like, just get out of here. Just go to the other side.
Do you then get it peer reviewed? She couldn't answer a simple question, and it's no disrespect to her. It's because she has no experience in forensic dog bite pathology at all. So what Attorney Brennan is saying is that just because you have some sort of professional expertise, you just can't get up there and opine whatever comes off the top of your head.
Oh, stop
and there's a lot of critical points, but I don't want to take up the whole show, but I hope we have time to get into them.
Well, we never have enough time to get into everything. In this case, there's so much. I want to show everyone this, Kevin, and I want to get your reaction.
Oh, what's
this is when it comes out in court that the feds came to their conclusion about the cuts based upon what
tell me they're going to show his
reenactment
here.
With had to say.
Did you know
He's taking
that
notes.
the U.S. Attorney's Office employed a deputy medical examiner to look at these bites? And then
Alan's
he
already taken notes.
commented that the wounds are 2 to 3 millimeters, up to 7 centimeters, were documented on Mr. O'Keefe's right arm, and the injuries do not photographically appear to be, nor are described as puncture bite wounds, and thus are highly unlikely to be the result of an animal bite attack. Did you get that expert opinion from the United States Attorney's Office when they investigated this case to consider as part of peer review?
Objection, Your Honor.
Okay.
And real quick, before we get into the segment again, I'm going to go back through that hearing. Painstakingly 7 hours. I'm going to have to go back through that hearing. But I know for a fact that Hank Brennan called those dog bites at one point. He said, let's take a look at the dog bites. I mean, scratches, the abrasions. I know he did.
Here's what I'm trying to figure out, Kevin. The injuries came from something, right? So who's going to tell us where these injuries came from? Who's going to tell us? Like at the first trial, we heard dog bite, and then we heard this guy from the state police who was not the greatest expert. He was a bad expert. Let's just admit it, right? So why in the second trial is everything going to be different? Why are we changing the rules here?
Yeah, listen, I agree 100% that the first trial was a huge mistake. And I said this all along, to not really explain exactly specifically how these injuries were caused. That was a mistake by the state. And we're seeing that's not going to happen this time. No detail is left, no stone is being left unturned here. So, and he started giving a sense of it. The arm was bent, he said, in a defensive position. And we see the federal expert described that some of the wounds seem to have been a continuation from one side, the forearm, to the upper arm, which would happen if your arm is kind of bent and something hits it like that. So we're starting to get an emerging detailed picture that we'll see, obviously get a much better sense of at the trial. And also, if I could mention this, there's so much that we learn on these cases, and, big part of it is learning how much that we don't know about how things go. But Dr. Scorti-Beller, the medical examiner in the trial, testified that she found hemorrhaging on the pancreas and the stomach, and that was a sign of hypothermia. But what she made clear was there are other things that could cause that hypothermia or that hemorrhaging. And the reason she combined to produce her conclusion, she has to get testimony from the troopers that said, yes, this victim was found outside. He was outside for a long time. He was cold. His body temperature was low. What we don't see here with Dr. Russell is what she did was she read an article in the paper, decided it was dog bites, reached out to the defense team through the Los Angeles attorney's office.
Yeah.
And since then, she's been just arguing to that conclusion and just trying to force everything into that.
We've got the music playing, Kevin. That means we got to go to break.
Playing the music. They got the little thing that gets you off the stage there, Plevin.
Vehicle breakdowns are costly.
Oh, start making some really weird commercial here. I always, when I see Plevin, I always see him with the headgear on, especially when he's doing these court TV segments. I keep thinking that he's going to be like, all right, and he's going to take the pen out like John Madden. What we're going to see here is Brady drop back and throw to, I just figure like,
it's tough to listen to. We're so fortunate to have an expert like Plevin to explain all this to us. Well, what had happened was he's like,
what had happened?
She grabbed my hands and she said, Google hypothermia, Google how long it takes to die in the cold. And so I had my phone out and it was cold and my hands were frozen and I have MS and I took my phone out
and every other
while
thing
she was screaming and shaking my arm, and I attempted to Google how long does it take to die in the cold.
That's Jennifer McKinney.
When people look up often, it's said in body language. You can look this up. When people are always looking up, they're lying because they're trying to draw this picture that's not there.
Gabe describing from her perspective when she made that Google how long to die in the cold, that became trial to test.
And that I don't think
expert is okay, and they using that as the basis that you've got to exclude the defense expert. Huh? Still with me tonight, Karen Reed supporter Nick Rocco, attorney Joseph Krowski Jr., and YouTuber Kevin Lenahan. Joseph, I always get skeptical of people who say this is not even debatable. Like, are we now going to, before the trial, decide whose expert is better, and that's the only one who gets to testify?
I think it's a lot more simplistic than that. I don't think that Green is going to testify. If you have read that motion, there's a footnote, there's an attached 40-page report from Whiffen summarizing the basis of his conclusions. My guess is that Green is going to read that report and is going to recognize the error in his ways. As you remember, he was almost apologetic at the first trial. So look, I understand and appreciate the battle of the experts, but when an expert such as Whiffen, who actually works for Cellbrite, which is the company that created the software that does the extraction and the analysis, that has reviewed it, and he has the support of Cellbrite, the company, saying that search did not happen unequivocally. I don't think there's going to be much fight from the defense. I'm curious to see if Green's going to stake his reputation, because he has to live to see another day after this trial and try to refute what the company itself has said. And contextually, from a common sense perspective, it never made sense that Jen McCabe was lying in bed, Google searching her daughter's basketball league, and at the same time thought that she better check how long O'Keefe can live out there on the frozen tundra of the front yard of 34 Fairview.
All right, so
So they're not even showing the 2:27 a.m. search here. You notice that?
I noticed that. Yeah, it's above.
And
Yeah.
another thing that's really, and I just keep going back to this, is that we just ignore black and white data now.
You're right.
It doesn't make, I mean, this is like the most ridiculous thing when Jennifer McCabe got up there, and you literally have all those Google searches on fucking black and white data. They have the source file, all this information that you're seeing here, you know, the 623, the 624. It's literally on that document. And Alan Jackson asked her, this search, 227, nope, didn't do it. But 623 and 624 you did do. It's black and white. It's right there. It showed that she did it. And she just said, nope, I didn't do that one. How is that even possible to ignore black and white data? It's like saying 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2.
And plus the pattern of the search. See how it's house long T die in, you know, then it's house long to die in cold. It goes, see how like 624, 18 seconds, it goes back to the original search that was logged in 2:27 a.m.
Yeah.
At some point, what probably happened was that she probably tried to type it in again, mistyped it in the search, then went for another search, probably saw it dropped out or something happened. And then she ended up just typing it in the wrong way she had previously again. I don't know how that would have happened, but it did. And it registered the same exact verbatim, house long to die in cold at 624.
And here you go. I mean, I was just going to talk about this too. It's funny. We have a parallel, you know, I would say parallel investigator in these cases, Trooper Proctor. You know, very detailed report in the Walsh case of all those Google searches. Okay. But nothing in his report in the Karen Reed case in his reporting about Google searches.
See how it goes. See at 624-24, the very bottom one. See how it's the same one as the one that's pictured top. So in two occurrences, she searched for one at 227 and 623. Then there was probably some kind of reduce, some kind of drop down search or whatnot that Kate logged at 18 seconds and 24 seconds behind, you know, beyond the hour there in the hour. You know,
that's a great point, Mark. Because look, when she typed it into Google, because a lot of the times it'll do that like auto, what is it, autofill or whatever.
Autofill,
yeah, it's already recognized what you've done. This is a good point. So Mark is saying, if you look up right here, if you can see my mouse, I don't know if anybody can. Let's see that top search at 623-57. She has the how long TI dying COKD, and then she came back at 624 and 18 seconds of Hostline the Dawn Cold. But she also did that at 227, that same search. And then Mark's point, going back to it, looks like she tried to do it again, and it dropped in that initial search that she did at 623.
So
and I'm sure Olivia, I know, Olivia's in the chat. She's probably explained this a million times on her Twitter account.
People have certain habits and patterns based on how they, you know, based on what their knowledge level is, experience with how they use their phone, all that stuff. In her particular case, she apparently has typos, and then she apparently did the same thing twice here. So two different searches for the same phrase came up twice, both times, at least within the confines of this. Then there's another one at the bottom.
Yeah. So Nick says, but the thing is, there's no matter how you search to get the same result, you wouldn't have to research it. Yeah.
Right.
All right. Let's play this.
You're saying is you believe, based upon this information, that the expert for the defense may not want to testify. I'm going to go to Kevin, and then I want to get to Nick afterwards. But Kevin, your thoughts on this subject?
Well, 227 is the thing that got a lot of us going. Initially, I believed there might have been a conspiracy here. When I looked at this naively, I thought data was just data. But we now know that the best in the world, including the company that produced the software that found that 227, they say that absolutely there was no search made at 227. We know logically there were 3 searches made. The defense doesn't dispute that 2 searches were made at 623. All 3 had slightly different spelling. So logically, it was someone just trying to struggle to come up with that at the same time. It was unlikely they'd be doing that same search twice. We know that on the ambulance that Karen was taken on a little bit later, when she was section 12, she asked the paramedic something similar. How long would it take for someone to die in the cold? So there's just
There's a great point by Anthony. He says even if you delete shit out of your device, there's things you delete will always be found. Yeah, I was watching something because I like watching a lot of those body cam videos, and I was watching something today. They busted some guy for photos and videos of CP on his phone, right? And they said it doesn't, like, we have such advanced, the officers explaining to the guy, like, look, if you just gone back in the house and you've just deleted it, I'm going to tell you right now, we have such sophisticated equipment that even if you delete those files on your phone, we will find it. Like, it's going to be there. Like, we will know that you've deleted it. And that's a great point. That even if it's deleted, they're going to find it.
Logic defeats this, and even just the idea of it is almost offensively silly, that these people got in the car to go home from 34 Fairview, dropping off 2 other guests. And if the idea is that John was mauled by a dog and beat up inside the house, and the plan was to put him out alive on their own lawn, and the McCabe's are going to go home just casually dropping people off, tuck their 4 daughters into bed, and just casually make their search. Jen's heart rate is perfectly normal. They would have, even if they were psychopaths, just in their own self-interest, so that they wouldn't go to jail for the rest of their lives, one of those people in the car would have said, we have to go to the police, because you're not going to be able to hide this kind of attack from a medical examiner or from the ER staff.
All right, Nick, I'll give you the final word on this. And one thing I want you to address also is, do you believe Richard Green will testify?
Teenagers in the bed. Yeah, Nick pointed that out.
Yeah, see Plevin sit back with the body language like you just schooled everybody on the panel.
That change your mind about anything?
I believe Richard Green is going to testify again if Judge Bev allows him to. Rich Green did not just only use Celebrite. He used 5 different softwares to find this Google search. Not only did he find it, but the FBI found it as well. So if we're to believe that the FBI is saying those aren't dog bites, then we're to believe that Google search happened. I mean, you can't say one person from the FBI is wrong and the other one's right. I mean, it's going to collide regardless of which way you look at it. And the Quantico expert and Richard Green, they had the full extraction report when they did these extractions. Ian Whiffen and Jennifer Hyde, they did not, not Jennifer Hyde, Jessica Hyde, they did not have the full extraction. They had a very narrow scope of what they were actually looking at. So if we're going to sit here and say this Celebrite data, the 227, it's wrong, even though it shows it, how many other innocent people have gone to jail based off a search from Celebrite? And if this was Karen Reed that searched Hoss Long to Die in Cold, the state would be looking for experts to prove that Google search happened in fact. So now I think what we're going to see is you got a little bit of information for the feds on one side, you got a little bit of information from the feds for the other side. Now it's like, okay, well, who do we believe? It's going to be debatable to the end and probably until the end of this trial.
Yep.
So,
I told you,
beyond,
folks, the retrial, bigger than the original. Unbelievable. Like Godfather.
Bigger, better sequel.
Joseph Krowski Jr., Nick Rocco, Kevin Lenahan, great to see you. Thank you so much. Wish we had more time. When we come back.
I think that's it. Good segment, Nick. Always really good on Court TV. Always really good stuff. Always really good stuff. All right. So Karen's, here's something to watch. January 15th, Trooper Michael Proctor has his hearing in front of the board to see what his disciplinary is going to be going forward. And that's going to be a really curious one to watch, because I know we were talking about that on Mike Young Jerk show with Mark Betterow. And it's like, Betterow is just basically saying, like, it's almost impossible that the Commonwealth could not exclude him. You'd have to kind of put him back up there. But I definitely think that if they don't, we know who's going to call him back to the stand. The defense is definitely going to call him. And I was even just joking around saying, is it out of the realm of possibility that he gets up there and pleads the fifth? But Mark just didn't see that would be totally plausible, knowing, everything that he testified in the first trial. But remember, it's a new trial, Mark. It's a new trial. So what do you think happens? You think Proctor eventually gets fired? I know there was a tweet a couple of months ago about Proctor being fired, but he was not fired. And now we're seeing that he's actually going to a disciplinary hearing to find out what his final fate will be. What do you think, Mark?
Well, I don't know how everyone's going to react to this, but I'm still on the fence about them firing him, because I still think that they're worried he's going to try to. I think he's going to end up trying to sue them if they fire him. So I think the state police are in between a rock and a hard place right now, where if they fire him, it's going to be a problem, and if they don't, it's going to be a problem. So it's one of those. That's how I look at it right now. I just think it's a rock and a hard place for them, and I think what's going to end up happening is they're probably going to delay any firing or further action on that to a later time. I might be 100% wrong about this, and I'm willing to be 100% wrong. That's fine. Probability, speculation, all that stuff. That's all I'm doing right now. But I would just say this: I wouldn't be shocked if they try to delay it or just try to do whatever and delay it. We've seen this with Tully, like he's saying Tully, Anthony's saying Tully, other people, slaps on the wrists. I would not be shocked if they somehow push it out, delay it, they review him. We'll keep it under review for a while. But if he ends up back on the witness stand again, blah, blah, we'll think he'll be good. Yeah.
Nick says he can try to sue. The state has endless money and he won't win. The reason the hearing is 1:15 was to get ahead of the trial that was scheduled for 1:27. Interesting point. But I almost think now, like I'm going to agree with Mark, because I think that they're going to get up there and they're going to go, well, we're just going to have to look at all of this again and we'll come to a determination, and they delay this thing because I think the Commonwealth definitely needs him for their case. I mean, he's the lead guy. And then look at all the ramifications behind that with the ongoing trial of Brian Walsh right now. And tomorrow night, I'm going to play through that hearing. And in Brian's Walsh defense team now is asking for documentation from the Karen Reed case to review it. So we're going to talk about that in that hearing tomorrow night. I'm going to go through it. I almost think the Commonwealth needs Proctor on their side. And it's just going to be, obviously going to go back into the expletive text that he said things about Karen. It's going to, show his character again. All good things for the defense, of course. But I'm going to tell you, if Karen Reed gets acquitted 2025, the next news cycle that's going to be right after that, if Proctor does hang around, Michael Proctor was fired today and released and gone. And I don't know. I have a feeling that that's what we're going to see. But again, it's all hypothetical. We really don't know. Yeah. And we'll just have to see how it all plays out. I don't know. Yep, anything else before we go, Mark?
All right. Nope. I'm ready to close up shop for the night. It's been a long day. 2 shows in a row, and my mind's fading. I'm watching the Notre Dame game. I got money on Notre Dame tonight. They just went up 17-10. So
there you go. All right. I got to get out of here too. I got to get some rest. I got another fun root canal tomorrow.
Oh boy. Good luck with that.
Hopefully through all of this bullshit that I've gone through, the very expenditures that I've paid out of my pocket in the last couple of days, it hasn't been fun, but it is what it is. Happy New Year 2025. Listen, this is Mark MazzaMedia over here. If you haven't subscribed to his channel, please go check him out on YouTube at MazzaMedia. And then you can also check him out on X. He's very active and awesome over there. Also going to plug Mike from the Young Jerks. If you haven't subscribed to his channel, please go over YouTube. Does a phenomenal job. I will be back tomorrow night at 7 p.m. to go through the Brian Walsh hearing. And then my next show will be on Tuesday with Juna Perkins is going to be live here in studio. And we're going to talk about her challenging Michael Morsi. I think it's in 2 years for Norfolk DA. And get her take on that and just see what her policies are going to be to clean up Norfolk County. All right. I'm Brian. That's my Mark MazzaMedia. We're going to head out of here. Thank you all so much for watching this evening. I hope you found value in the show. And hey, free Karen Reed. We love Karen Reed. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Take care.